Hello, hello. My first reading, solo reading in a while. Taking a long break. Um, Not break, I've been working, but let's get back to it. Hold on. All right. Ooh, 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 ooh. Where is the fucking clock? All right. All right. Stretch it out a bit. I got my cats around me. How many are in my circumference? One, two, three, four. And then five downstairs. No, you can't see. She'll come. All right. So we are born the same year. We are born the same year, 1990. Very cool. So that means that we have the same outer planet. Um, a lot of the same nodal story, but it's different a little bit. Both Sag Moon. Okay, how much we have in common? That kind of stops there. Um, all right. So you are very, very used to being the shit. Um, South Node and Leo vibes. You know, I'm also South Node and Leo, but you have your South Node, which represents your current past, right here on the midheaven in fucking Leo with Jupiter. Like, come on. So there's a past life tendency where I'd be very curious to what kind of family you came into in this lifetime. Um, because there's definitely the chance that, let's say, you came into a poor family, or probably not. I mean, Jupiter conjunct midheaven, usually there's like a rich, usually, either like a very successful, it creates a very successful person typically. Um, they have a lot of luck and good fortune. I don't like to use the word luck. They have a lot of good fortune and good thing and a lot going for them in their careers. And yeah, a lot of politicians, a lot of real decision makers, and it's kind of like whatever is real ability to manifest magic and anything you kind of. It's kind of like whatever you touch turns to gold, and there's this karmic connection to that very concept, right? The thing is, right, with Jupiter, yeah, I've seen people with that whose dad, usually it's the dad, was a politician. I've seen people where Jupiter was a husband, so the husband was really successful with the eighth house energy too. That could be the case. One of the two. But I've also seen it where the father was just a huge influence to them, right? But anyways, yeah, with the nodal story, moving from a Leo South node on the midheaven, there is a tendency to be a little bit too involved with career. Um, and it's not that you're supposed to run away from that in this lifetime. It's that you're supposed to balance out the axis of um outer life and inner life, right? Like the office kind of go-getter dharma life with the more internal emotional feminine. Like there's been way more of an emphasis on the kind of conquering of especially, Leo South knows they have that gift of just being creatives. And like sometimes we're like, I'm in this also, right? Sometimes we feel that, what I guess I started saying this and I stopped finishing it, talking about it. Like we feel this sort of like entitlement sometimes where we're like, oh, I should be famous, oh, I should be rich. And there a lot of times there's this karmic blockage if we do things that are too much based on the ego, right? um Now, North Node in Aquarius, so the North Node refers to where you're trying to go. It's right on the IC. So to me, that just shows the importance of your family and any kind of bonds with your family in this lifetime. Also, Pluto is squaring the IC, so that would let me know that there is some darkness in that area, likely. And yeah, and then there's a huge karmic link with that family as well. So the Aquarius part is about moving away from the me and moving towards the we, doing things for the collective, right? Example in my life, because I know my life. Whenever I'm definitely like a talented person, a lot of stuff creatively, like a lot, but somehow karmically in my life, it just never aligned, right? And whenever I try to do things like that, I could feel the energy of like, you've done this before. You've been this, whatever, singer, artist. And it was almost like the universe would block me when I tried to move towards those things, even though talent wise, believe me, if you want, I have, like I have talent to be a famous, artist. Yeah. But yeah, but then astrology, which is way more about the we, right? So Aquarius is about things that help connect people, help bring people together. Leo is more about leveraging your creative talents and doing something amazing, but it might not necessarily be bringing people together in that humanitarian collective way, right? Now, the whole point is you're trying to take your south node, use that specialty to get to your north node. So that Leo South nodes have this inner ability to just, especially since your Leo is in your Jupiter is in Leo, so that makes Jupiter and Leo people are just like children at heart. Like they just have this natural exuberance, and they're very enthusiastic. They're very childish in a good way. They love children actually, and it's also a very very good indication for children. And I see that Neptune rules your fifth house of children too, from the somewhere from the third. Yeah. So you could have like very intelligent, um, also very spiritual, very kind of dreamy, interesting, but also like intelligent kids. Um, yeah. So hold on, I need to put this on pen. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I guess with Leo, yeah, you're trying to take this ability to be a great leader that you have naturally and find ways that you can really think about that whole going from me to we concept. So you can imagine yourself in past lives as someone who's probably accomplished a lot already, and that in this life it might be important for you to be someone that is a lot. It's not that you can't succeed, right? Like it's just that you kind of have to like imagine if you had past lives where you've already been there, done that, and it's like it's time for some other people. But like it can be so frustrating, you know, especially as a Libra for you, Libra Sun, Sag Moon. Um, yeah. So we yeah. I mean, there's definitely this energy of wanting to really like expand yourself through the arts. And Libra is obviously a very smooth, very artistic, very creative sign. Venus ruled sun, 12th house sun. So 12th house suns, they a lot of their life is really really ruled by karmic forces, and they kind of have to get right karmically. I think when I see a 12th house sun, I'm gonna like let myself zone out here. It's just something I do. I like to just like sometimes I turn the camera off and just meditate, but I like to just like completely get into a flow state. So if I look like I'm looking away, just know that it's either I turn the camera off or that, and maybe I will. But yeah, so 12th house suns, like they really need to like it's just like it makes the karma really important, right? And being of service is the ultimate key. And with your sun square Uranus, that makes you like a very rebellious Libra. And the thing with when you mix those two with Libra and rebellious is that Libra is not a sign that does that good with that. Um, they usually would rather play by the book. So and not shake things up. They prefer to be a little bit more, you know, like Libra can be indecisive, it can be people pleasing. So Libra really has to learn from in 12th house, there's this whole component of a need, like it can create a loner. And it's really good for like a 12th house sun to spend time alone, because they can start to lose themselves and mix their energies and their like with their environments, the people around them. So they can really benefit from that. Um and yeah, when you combine that with a Sag moon, obviously Sag moons will like need to travel. There's an emotional need for exploration, for learning, just for the whole point of understanding the why of your life. And you'll probably see that more than other people. The moon sign is the most important, in my opinion, in astrology. I mean, sun and moon, it's feminine, masculine, but I would give more power to the feminine because we know about our masculine energy more. The feminine, it's more undiscovered. It's our unconscious mind, our unconscious needs, right? Not wants, needs. So it's big stuff. Very, very important. So understanding your moon sign it's something that can be like a lifelong process, right? And I always learn new things about my Sag moon. But really, it's you'll see that more than most people, you really really need to feel like you're constantly growing and traveling physically or metaphorically or both, right? Because when you travel physically, you learn about worldviews from around the world, right? And when you travel metaphorically, meaning this, for example, different philosophical perspectives, just like being able to, like, for example, like have different teachers or just learn different things, hear different perspectives of life. It just increases your worldview of what's possible. And Sag moons need to feel like they're growing, and when they're under stress, they really feel like they need to go on adventures, oftentimes to faraway foreign places if they can. So sometimes they need to be a little bit selfish in the sense of just knowing that what works, what works for some other moon signs, like your Taurus moons, your Cancer moons, might not necessarily work for a Sag moon. It's hard. It's really we really really struggle with the grass is green on the other side, and I could see with um I could see with the Libra also, like just the need for you to really dial down some core principles, some core values in your life that you can make your decisions based off of. Um, because what can happen if you don't have that is just that potential wishy-washiness, um, which can be really, really tough, and it can have an impact on your relationships and just your overall. Like, it's really important not to. to really look out for energy vampires too. Now you don't have any Neptune difficulties, but just still Libra, they have to be strong, and that's what's really good about your rising. Your rising is your personality, it's your external. It's like the vehicle through which it's how you look, it's your personality, what people see the most. And Scorpio with Pluto there, you are a very tough person. Um, you're very, very much about challenging your body and yourself in general. Like you're determined, determination is a very key part of your personality and who you are. And I I really think that there can be a mixture of how different things, like whether it's sports or hiking or yoga or who knows, something physical, um, can be really linked with your psychological, spiritual, energetic transformation. Um, hmm. So second house moons, I love that placement because it usually actually it usually is quite good for self-esteem, or at least for like kind of the person like feel like tends to like like have like a pretty good understanding of who they are. My experience with that. Um, they definitely have a need to they can be sometimes there can be fluctuations with income, and they can sometimes you know sometimes there can be too much weight placed on how much they're making, or not excuse me, there can be sometimes there can be yeah, lots of fluctuations, and yeah, I guess I was saying it correctly. Lots of fluctuations in their earnings, and the magic feeling is when they start to not like when they start to not be obsessed with just always maximizing earnings, right? And it's like kind of like the balance between the physical and the metaphysical when it comes to that, and then everything tends to be remedied. Um, yeah. So one other thing that I would look out for is a potential to have an imbalance between your logic, like your feelings, your emotions, your feelings, um and your ideas slash speech. Um, so yeah, Mercury square Moon. And then square Mars or opposite Mars, so it forms a T square, and it shoots out in Pisces in the fifth house. So yeah, with Mars, sometimes people with that could be a little bit on edge. Like when they get ticked off, um, they can be a little bit explosive, and impulsive with their words, and quick to, sometimes quick to anger. Although as a Sag moon, it makes Jupiter, which is very strong in your chart, rule your moon. So it's my favorite moon sign, not just because it's my own. I don't say Pisces is my favorite sun sign at all. I'm a Pisces sun. Um, but it's just such a positive. Like I like so many of my friends are Sag moons. They're just so positive and optimistic, and I just they just have that kind of glasses half full energy. And during like crises and stuff, they don't usually switch up. They're usually just like that's who they are. They're the same person, and you can kind of just like expect them to be very fun adventure buddies and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so that T square shoots out in Pisces fifth house, and that's essentially saying that by you having a creative outlet, right? By you having like a creative outlet that takes you into like a spiritual, like something like, for example, like like if you're like a musician or like a mystical poet or anything, like I'm just you can imagine like the possibilities, but yeah, that is really the best thing for you. And just with Moon opposite Mars, sometimes, yeah, like that one can create run-ins, like arguments with people, and yeah, it can just make someone a little hot to temper, and then you have Mercury involved too. So yeah, it's just really good to like balance out um yeah, what you need emotionally, because what you need emotionally obviously is that Sagittarius energy, so all, you know, that everything I was talking about before. But then your Mercury's in Virgo, so that gives you a very rational mind, very observant, very logical in terms of, yeah, like it's so funny whenever I speak to, like, I usually like judge people on their Mercury signs, like clients. Whenever it's like Mercury Virgo, I always feel like shit. Like when I notice that I'm with the Mercury Virgo, I'm like, okay, I need to have my words very accurate. But then it's like the Sag Moon is more chill usually. But if you had like I don't know, a Virgo Moon also, or Capricorn Moon, I would be talking like this. Um, yeah, but basically that's just, you know, with Venus there also, you know, that is all about just making sure that you have this balance between, like the Virgo part of your chart, right, which is your mind and what you value, Venus, your love language. It's this part that's a little bit more conservative, um, and logical, and it goes against your instinct. So you need, so that's one uh aspect of parts work for you, is to balance out this one side that might need to kind of calculate things, um to have logical proof for why doing this is right, while the Sag Moon is just this free spirit. It's a fire sign, it's a fire moon. So when you have a fire moon, you can be emotionally impulsive, you know? You can be emotionally, let's fucking do it. Let's go. Let's fire it up, all that stuff. Um yeah. And yeah, so your sun's ruled by Venus and it's conjunct Venus. So that's nice. That usually, I have no idea what you look like. I do this on purpose. Usually people who have Sun conjunct Venus, even though it's a pretty loose conjunction, usually they have a very beautiful aura. A lot of times they're very beautiful as well. And Libras tend to have beauty just in general as a sign. Obviously, not everyone, and a single sign is gonna be beautiful, but Libra is, you know, it's a sign of beauty for sure. But yeah, the 12th house Sun sometimes prefers to be more behind the scenes. And they notice that when they're, yeah, like I was saying before, their life is so ruled by karma, and their life can sometimes feel like how they were raised early on. Like a lot of times the son is the father, and a lot of times their father was um a little bit absent, or so there's conflicting stuff here, right? um but yeah, oftentimes that's the 12th house son, right? It's you know, yeah, it's a lot of times it's like a lot of times it's the father having been absent or had a weak influence. So I know that contradicts what I said, but one thing astrology has shown me is that two contradicting things can be true at the same time. Like there can be, for example, a father who has a massive influence, but maybe he died early. You know what I mean? Or maybe he just was like always working, but he was like super successful, or in hooked the, you know, like life is more complicated than like, you know, it's complicated. There's lots, like a million possibilities. So I just kind of lay it all out, and then people, then we talk about in the follow up, if you got the follow up in current astrology. If not, be happy to offer it to you. I don't have my list in front of me, but usually it's probably like 500 something. It's a 3 hour session. First hour is the follow up, and hours 2 and 3 are current astrology, going over everything. It's very thorough, very, very thorough. I'd be happy to do it for you. Just have to remind me I gave you this price. I can write it down too, and just email me at jesseanstonastrology.com if you want to set it up, and we'll set a time and everything, time and date, not too long. It's not like a long wait like well, my wait's way shorter now than it was, but let me think. So it's usually like 5:30 combined. I'd be happy to do it for mm, 370. 370. Yeah, I'll do it for 370. So that's the 1 hour follow-up where we go over everything just nail chart what we talked about today. And then yeah, then the current astrology reading, which is like the astrology of now and the year, kind of years ahead, really kind of bringing together predictive astrology with the natal. The natal never changes, the predictive is always changing. Um, okay. So let's see here. Yeah. Also, like, if you don't feel like you have really found your direction in life right now, don't worry because, a lot of times people with Sun square Uranus, they're really meant to take that road less traveled and and it aligns with your North Node Aquarius also, right? So now that Pluto's entering Aquarius, I think it's really going to be time for our generation, with the North Node Aquarius to really shine, right? Um, yeah, I think it's our time is coming. And just a lot, yeah. So it's sometimes like a lot of times the Uranus Sun people, square Sun, they want to do something that helps the world out, but sometimes they can be a little bit like it can just sometimes they can go out of their way to be like shocking other people by how rebellious they are, and just how different they are, which I think is cool. Um, but yeah, it's just like learning about yeah, not rocking the boat too much, I guess. Like not really not rocking the boat too much, but um like diplomacy, which obviously comes very naturally for the Libra part in you. But yeah, like I've seen a lot of people with that who they really find, yeah, their life purpose kind of comes to them at like 52 or something like that, later in life. Or they not that what they were doing before was not part of it, but it just doesn't, like it just doesn't play like the real like apex comes later, but they have like different steps, like maybe they're meant to work in a corporate job for 20 years and then this and that. But yeah, it's just all about following, what your purpose and what's important. So hold on 1 second. Ina, 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 come here. Hold on. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, so definitely a theme is the potential for feeling misunderstood by family. So with Chiron where it is, um Chiron is in the sign of Cancer. It's very typical to have just this, yeah, just really feel misunderstood by the family of origin, and there being some kind of pain around that. And in the ninth house, it can be pain around one's overall big picture beliefs. And as a Sag moon, a lot of times what happens is when I see that is it's like the person has spent so much time, um, kind of figuring out their truth, I guess you could say. And they might be in a more traditional family or a family that just isn't really open to what they're open to. And then they have to like learn the lesson to not, push their beliefs onto their family. But a lot of times, yeah, the family can be more traditional, more religious, and they can kind of just um, reject these things. um, so yeah, a big goal is finding peace. What's interesting is that the sun is hi, Mika. Mika. The sun is trying the node, so that could indicate a positive karmic relationship with the father, which is very interesting. There's so much conflicting stuff with the father. Mika. But yeah, like big goal, getting good with the family. Um, and sometimes, we're not gonna just understand, we're not gonna be understood perfectly. It is what it is, it is what it is. But we can still create peace, forgiveness, all that, all that stuff, we can still figure that aspect out and not have just this negative energy, right? Which is one of the beauties of astrology, really, because understanding someone's chart, and obviously there's other ways to go about than just astrology, but that's one way, and then you just understand the person on a deeper level or why they are the way they are, blah blah. So I always tell people to get readings for their family members. Um, yeah, it's interesting what I was just talking about. You have Black Lilith and Sag too, so that could be kind of like um, a tendency potentially of a lot of times people with Black Lilith and Sag, and especially their Sag moons, they sometimes want people around them to believe what they believe in, and yeah, they'll just push and push and push and push, um, until they learn the lesson that what, I can't control what people believe, and then they sort of find this peace. And then interesting, a lot of times once they stop pushing, eventually those other people come around to their to like if they're curious people in any way. Some people just aren't curious, it is what it is. Or some people have too big of egos to yeah to like take to ask things from people. Um Anyways, yeah, so the Scorpio side, you'll come off in a way that is Scorpio risings, people usually respect them. Especially Pluto first house can be a very good leader. And yeah, they can just be people that have this sort of power inherent in them, and they people feel their energy when they walk in. They're usually old souls. Yeah, very intuitive, see through people. Usually very interesting look, striking eyes, kind of a sorceress type vibe. Um, and then you have some eighth house too. So you have Mars and Gemini in the eighth, which is actually an excellent indicator for someone who would be a very, very good researcher. Um, or just someone who would be, very, very good at, people who have Mars and Gemini are, I always say this, they use their words as their weapons, right? Um, they're wordsmiths, so they're able to really, really get what they want through their communication. Um, and you don't want to mess with them in that way. And then Mars in the eighth house, it is a malefic in the eighth, but at the same time, I think that it gives a push towards esoteric knowledge and towards spiritual knowledge and towards understanding the underworld, like kind of like what's really running things beneath the surface in the world, um, human psychology, that kind of stuff. And it goes very well with the Scorpion. The vertex is with Mars, which, yeah, it definitely gives some level of fate in terms of your action in this realm of life, you know? So I think with anyone with a placement like that, they kind of come alive. And with your 12th house sun too, that's really speaking to your spiritual side and to how you really come alive, especially with your North Node, right? Remember, it's on the most bottom part of the chart. So a big thing for you is really going back to your lineage, going back to your origins, going back to, yeah, going back to your origins and whether it's going back into the past and making peace with that, the family ancestry, who knows, there's a million different potentials, right? But once again, I'll say it again, it is, you become freed when you lighten your energetic load, um especially with respect to any kind of resentments, right? Now, no. Also, Mars and Gemini people, just random bits of things that I've learned about these placements throughout the years. They really like to have their lovers be their best friends, to have like a strong intellectual connection, and they're super curious, right? Mars and Gemini, they're very conversative. So the fact that you have Gemini Mars opposite your moon in Sag, you've got that Sag Gemini. So that's like the axis, right? Axis is like it's two signs that are opposites, but they're the same energy, but opposite manifestations. So to have both of them, it gives you like the curiosity part of you, Gemini, and the more philosophical part. So it's like the communicator, the blah 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 blah, that gets all the data from the world, that goes out, able to have the small talk, able to go and do these things. Um, and then the Sagittarius, which is the part that connects it all together. So that's cool. Um, let's see here. Let's see here. So yeah, I think, yeah, with respect to like just in general, you'll be a very curious person. You'll be a very probably quite talkative. Um, but then yeah, Virgo energy is more reserved in terms of like Virgo Mercury is there. It makes you very very intelligent. Because that's the Mercury works best in its best signs in Gemini and Virgo, right? But you have both of those energies in inner planets. So you so that there's like this mix of philosophical with mercurial, right? With more cognitive. So yeah, finding that balance is important. Yeah. So in partnerships, you would do really well with people who can like the Gemini Mars part. It craves this need for doing this. They can get so bored so fast, right? So um just knowing that about yourself and knowing that there's some, I don't know if you're married or not. I should probably I'm gonna read probably the time I read your email. Oh, love and career. Interesting. Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't know if you are married, but you wrote, yeah, interesting. That's kind of what yeah, I was just about to jump into the love stuff, so that's cool. Um, so yeah, I mean, so yeah, with career, you're very blessed. Um, you really can do anything. Midheaven Leos, they do like to, a 12th house sun prefers to work behind the scenes. That's just the reality of it. But it could, yeah, I've seen charts like this in politics, um, or even like doing something like being a doctor where you're, yeah, behind the scenes. But it, yeah, I mean, like also being a service. But really, with the Uranus energy in your career, it's really about just trial and error. But a lot of times, Leo midheavens like to be recognized for what they're doing career wise. So yeah. Um, let's see here. Yeah, so Sag moons, they need that adventure buddy. They need that person who's willing to kind of just have that real philosophical. They could be interested in someone from a different culture. Um, they just want to really expand, someone who's willing to expand with them and who's open minded and fun. Really, that's important. Um, Now the Venus and Virgo, the love language for Venus and Virgo is very much around reliability and stability and consistency. So many Venus and Virgos I know will take things quite slow and they'll want to have the foundation of a relationship very solid before diving in. So you bring those together and you kind of, yeah, you have something. But yeah, one of the interesting parts of your chart is this real difference between that Scorpio rise, the Scorpio rising. It's more private, right? It creates a more private person, but Sag moons typically aren't that private. But then your 12th house sun would be more private. So I'm curious how that all works out. Um, Anyways, yeah. So yeah, probably a mix of both of them together in different ways. How it usually is. Like example, like I can think of myself as an easy example. Like I'm a super big hermit, but then again, like when I am social, I'm mega social, you know? Like I'm like the socialite when I do the rare times that I do go out and get out there. It's like, you'd think I go out all the time, but I don't. So yeah, that's just an example of how the two can work together, or how the two can both be valid, even though they don't really make sense in that way. Um, yeah, but with career, I just think it's really important to understand that the amount of work you do with your family and with your kind of like emotional relationship with yourself and North Node and Aquarius, yeah, like it could be work that's very, very um like that's helping, that has a high metaphysical value, right? And then as a Sag moon, that's really where you're learning a lot about yourself and your place in the world through your work. That could be really, really good. Um, so and then yeah, the Virgo energy falls in the 11th, so that could really make you want to be a part of causes that work well with your energy. Different groups per se. Um, yeah, different groups, just that kind of thing, that kind of thing. And yeah, I would say Sirius and Virgo also, it definitely, they really nurture others by the small acts that they do. And they yeah, they really they show they care about, yeah, but by their acts of service. Yeah, it really is. So I think that that could also, and with Vesta and Gemini, I looked at Vesta because it can give a lot of details about like what type of work one could do. That's more of like the fun version of Saturn. Saturn is more like the disciplined work, karmic work. Um, Vesta is more like what we find most sacred. So in Gemini, yeah, I mean, an eighth house, just really something that delves beneath the surface and that you get to communicate about, right? So research could be um in some way very, like, or something that demands, like, there's a lot of careers, for example, like, okay, this is a good take. There's a lot of careers that demand a lot of research, and people are too lazy slash afraid slash not don't have that ability. Like, this is your Mercury and Virgo is so good at this, and because you have a Venus with your Mercury. I'm not going to lose this, but this is the conjunction and series that gives you, even like sometimes Virgo Mercury's can be a little bit cold, like a little bit like too like, what's the word? I'm losing my English. I swear to God, I'm not speaking that much English these days. Um, like critical, but there's another word I'm thinking about. But anyways, they can be, yeah, I guess like too critical. But Venus and Sirius on that is going to add a lot of beautiful feminine energy to that. So it's going to make it go. It's going to make it work in a way easier way. But yeah, like a lot of people are just too lazy or just don't have the skill set to do these types of careers that take a lot of research. So that just gives you a lot of potential, right? So if you're able to really dive into that. But of course you have to be passionate about it, right? And yeah, like the Mars and Gem people can be really interested in lots of different things. For sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. So yeah, there could be like this, like some influence of like working in being a part of some tribe, some organization, something that's like kind of bigger than yourself, right? Some cause, even being like a spokesperson of some sort. Third house is interesting. That's, you got Saturn, yeah, those three, Neptune, Uranus. So what can happen there is there can be a mix of feeling. So if we start with Uranus and Neptune, I Neptune in the third, it can make someone really able to write amazingly and communicate in a very inspirational way and creative, like spiritual way, right? So they can be the types of people that like do the kind of like magical, what's it called? Magical writing, the Jungian, like, right, like intuitive writing, where through their writing they just kind of like learn about what's what's going on, like they can get like downloads through their communication, through their writing of some sort. Uranus is similar, but it's more about downloads. But also with Neptune, there can be sometimes like a sort of vagueness in one's communication, but also like a real beauty to it. Um, and Uranus, third house people, they can like really gain a lot of insights through, like when the best advice is to just talk, just let things out, just write, just journal, just talk, and just see what comes of it, because it's not uncommon for there to be like a lot of magic, a lot of like, whoa, like what did, like, like where did that come from, right? Like how did I think of that thing? So, um Now Saturn in the third is interesting because I see that a lot with people who grow up in families where they felt like they, or just like not, it's not necessarily just families, and also this can all be related to siblings too. So this could give like a very like interesting kind of strange relationships with siblings. Um, but yeah, like the Saturn third people, sometimes they felt early on like there was something wrong with their way of thinking or their way of communicating, whether it's like from their early school days, who knows. So sometimes it's from like the sibling relationships themselves, if there are siblings. And overall, I just think when I see those three, because everyone born in our years have those ones together, I'm just like create, journal, dream journal, especially the 12th house sun, you can benefit a lot from that, from any kind of dream journaling. And the more you can get in touch with that sort of metaphysical side, the better. Um, mm, mm, mm. And part of fortune's in Capricorn, so third house, when you're speaking in a very true um a manner, a very regal, not regal, what's the word I'm thinking of? Just like when you're speaking with honor and acting with honor, that's when you get to your highest flow state. And here's Esme, so maybe she wants to help. Esme, look at the part of the chart I need to look at. Esme, look. No, I missed it. Esme, look. Esme, look. Oh, descendant in Scorpio or Pluto. Oh, thank you, Esme. No, she looked at Juno, which I forgot. So that's one more aspect of the love stuff. Juno, right here, that represents our kind of like our marriage mate, like what we really like, what we would marry, like on a very high level of relationship, what works the best, like our ideal mate. So Scorpio, Juno, that's where I have mine too. Just like adding to the formula, everything I was saying before. And like a thing about love astrology is that like, you know, I don't know if like if people really meet like like is it really realistic to think that you're gonna meet someone, like anyone's gonna meet someone that hits every aspect of their chart, like maybe like into some way, right? But it really just is about the more important things. So like the moon's so important, but I would say so Juno, I see this a lot with married couples and very serious relationships. Like my girlfriend, her Scorpio sun is right on my Juno, like same 1 or 2 degrees away. And yeah. Um, but yeah, so overall, I would say that hmm, I would say that adds like sort of this desire to have a very loyal partner and someone who first house has their own life, but is really, there's a lot of closeness, but also this kind of pioneering energy together, if that makes sense. Like wanting to do things together, but also having your own lives, but then having like intense levels of trust and like knowing that that person isn't going to cheat, stuff like that. Okay. Okay, so you have a really good indicator for intelligence, and you have a really good indicator for having long-term karmic relation, or really like when you have Venus trine Saturn, you have the ability to have like a very, very solid relationships that stick together through the long term. And the planet of karma is in a positive aspect with Venus, the planet of love. So, things will just kind of work out. Um, and Mercury trine Saturn, the planet that rules your intelligence, trining Saturn, that gives you organizational abilities, the ability to really, really make lists and do all like like have the day-to-day down. And also Saturn rules memory, so that makes someone with a very like usually like a very good memory, really good at any kind of job. So with career, there's a ton of versatility, and I think it's more about is what makes you passionate, what lights your fire, right? Because that's what Leo midheaven is. It's what lights your fire, but not following the path of ego, and always having something that could give you that work-life balance, right? Because in past lives, you've been way too much as like the royal person. Like, I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say, but I'm not joking. Like that's like some presidential type shit. Also, your descendants in Taurus. So descendant is the seventh house cusp. That's more about relationship. Yeah, I mean that's just kind of on the same vague as like the same wave as the Virgo. Venus, similar, right? Just that reliability, that stability. And it's the opposite sign of Scorpio. So it's just like, you yeah, loyalty, stability, consistency, mixed with some fun and some philosophical stuff. It doesn't have to be someone who has the exact same worldview as you, but someone who's willing to learn. Someone who's not just shutting down information. And yeah, you could be like a teacher. You could be someone who teaches also with Chiron, ninth house. Someone who is, most likely kind of pushed down for their beliefs, and they rise above it, and then they're able to teach other people based on those very beliefs. um Ooh, nice. Yeah, so you have the nebula on your Venus. That's a star about, and lust. Ooh, you have the lust is like, let me tell you something about lust. It's an asteroid that I've noticed, like, it creates a very sexy energy. I have no idea what you look like. Once again, I'm not being creepy or weird. I literally don't know. But look, like this is one I've studied because I've seen like so many girls who have this, like with its Venus, with ascendant or Venus. Honestly, I've seen a trend of them having stalkers. Not all of them, don't be scared, but just like having this very sexy energy that can be very like, sometimes it can be seen as very erotic. Um, like I've seen lust. I mean, it speaks for its fucking self, lust, right? So it makes one lustful, and it's interesting because like sometimes I've seen people with that signature where they don't, like, they might, the way they look might make them look more sexual than they are, right? It's actually an interesting topic, right? Because some people are super sexual, but they don't look like it. They look like innocent, and other people it's the opposite, right? So lust is very sexy. Now Denebula is very different. Denebula is about truth seeking. So it's actually like one of the fixed stars in ancient astrology that's linked to astrology and these types of like metaphysical um metaphysical pursuits. Now you have an amazing asteroid on your Mercury, which is about unconditional love. So you're able to speak in a way that portrays that really conveys this unconditional love, which is awesome. You have Hecate, which is one of the witch asteroids on your Jupiter and your midheaven. So that actually gives clues to your career. You could be someone who is a witch, who's doing that for like something like like in that realm, literally. Yeah, it's the exact same degrees as your midheaven. So cool. And then you have like lots of protection around that career path as well, and lots of expansion. Jupiter midheaven is probably the best thing you can possibly have. And also, so I do another reading called astrocartography. It's where I explain your energetic hot spots and cold spots and just like the whole globe. I don't know if you've seen anyone post that before, but if you live close to where you were born in Norwalk, you are in a very good place for success, like around there, you know. Okay. Oh shit. Hmm. Hmm. So yeah, you have Aldebaran, which is one of the four royal stars on your Mars. Um, so that gives a lot of ambition. It's really good for like someone who can really trust their like good, really good business sense, really good at like kind of trusting their gut when it comes to like that world. And it creates like a real born survivor, someone who's like a real competitive, um, a daredevil as well, someone who can take risks, you know, like the whole who dares wins type mantra. And they tend to win, you know. It's very good fortune for that. But yeah, once again, it does speak to this kind of like passionate, hot-blooded, kind of like impulsive potential for accidents, that kind of thing. So it's also very high libido, sex drive energy. Um, so yeah, just using that to your advantage is good. So that's very nice. And yeah, you have your moon is close to the great attractor, so that is about just like cosmic information, being able to just like kind of be someone who's able to just get receive downloads, and kind of just understand things, you know, about the universe and you know just spiritual information. Like you can be reading books or learning lessons or even getting a reading, and you'll just things will just click to you, like which is such an advantage when you're if you're learning something like astrology, or if you're learning, you know, anything that you kind of have to have this compass in your mind of like, okay, you know, what's important, what's not. It helps you to understand that, and just gives that intuition as well. So with Mercury square Mars, sometimes there can be like a just like difficulty with concentrating. So there's like a need to like ground the energy. With the Mars and Gemini too, it can be like all over the place too. Um, so it can kind of create, yeah, like just like lots of thoughts, lots of ideas, very talkative, and kind of like a real need to kind of just like ground the energy, right? Speaking of that, let me see this. So yeah, so you have all four elements. That's good. Personal planets. Yeah, so you have so many aspects. Also, Chiron sextile Venus. That is just a very, you know, for relationships, to make someone who's like very caring, very loving, really good at taking care of loved ones. Kind of as a healer as well, someone who has this real healing ability, this real ability to kind of know what people need and what they need to hear. Um, and yeah, with the Uranus also there is that, yeah, it can be, yeah, once again another impulsive placement. but just like really like a huge determination to like be an individual, to really stand out, do things in your own way. Um, this real desire to towards like individualism, right? Towards like individual, like that whole process. That like it can make someone a very unique, original leader who doesn't follow trends, who makes trends, who takes their own paths based on their own ideas of what's important, their own values. And let's see. So a lot of times with the second house moon, yeah, like it can make like income go up and down, and it's like this sort of test to find the internal resources, right, to deal with any types of fluctuations. And like I was saying before, once there's kind of that move away from like, yeah, like some people with that, there can be too much of an obsession for the material, and when they balance out the metaphysical and kind of like moving towards that North Node Aquarius, right, that individuality, that doing things for the collective, all that stuff, everything tends to open up a lot. And yeah, also Neptune trines Mercury, so that's another really good one for like some people who have that, like are really able to like great storytellers. They're very creative with their words. They're able to paint pictures, just like, yeah, like it's good for story. I just said that, storytelling. Be very creative with the spoken word and the written word. And um the effect it has on the mind is that it gives that kind of that logical Virgo mind this more spiritual um yeah, kind of touch to it, of being able to like really see all the possibilities. So I think that's really good. um Good for thinking outside the box as well. So I think also with the sun north node, it's like, it once again speaks to this theme of like, self-expression, authentic self-expression this lifetime, and just like different events that kind of force you to come to terms with your identity, and just like how you can express your full potential as an individual. um and yeah, there's like this big need to like, yeah, really express yourself through your profession and your dharma, or some kind of cause group. And it's, yeah, it's really is someone who has like a big message that needs to be heard by people, and not just the people around them and their family and their yeah. So yeah, really with any nodal balance here where it's like completely midheaven, I see it is really about the balance between the feminine and the masculine parts of you, right? um so always kind of thinking, how am I balancing those two out, right? The found like, because you need to have very solid foundations in your life to have your career maximized. And I think that the more that you really dial down those things, because sometimes people with that, they can brush off a little bit, oh, I don't need to like figure this out with my family, or I don't need to figure this out with my past. But then it can have, this impact, right? Where they can feel like they're limited in their, like, a lot. I guess what I'm saying is like a lot of their actual career, like there can be this the amount of like inner work they do, and the amount of work they do with making things go with their family, and all that, um can mimic it, can just have this impact on their career. And um I think another thing about fourth house North Node is like, yeah, it is that quest for inner self-worth. And there can be like a past life tendency of taking too much of one's worth from their public persona, and that need for like past life, that past life need for public recognition. And yeah. And yeah. So a lot of times with the North Node Aquarius too, there is this struggle, as I was saying earlier, between the personal needs and that sense of dedication to others, right? And it can be tough to lay aside, um, like in my example, like the music, right? Like we all have our own version of that, and it's not that can't be pursued, but yeah, just being able to really honor how your talents, how you can serve the world with your talents. And if I think about people who have this, I really see how the successful, a successful version is, yeah, being able like to leverage that leadership ability, that creative ability, that ability to really just bring joy to people, and that high passion energy level, generosity that Leo Jupiter brings, in a way where they can still express their creativity, but in a way that's, yeah, that has some level of selflessness to it. Um, yeah, so sometimes there's a level of self-sacrifice that's needed there. And I would say also when it comes to big decisions, just in general, like, yeah, the alone time can be really, really beneficial. Um, and also just, yeah, to always like be thinking like how Libra sometimes needs to borrow from the opposite sign Aries, where if Libra is too much thinking about trying to make everyone happy, Aries is like just very independent. So that can sometimes be a slip up for Libra people. And with the 12th house, yeah, like with decisions, just really taking your time on them, not feeling pressured by anyone, and just really staying away from the energy vampire types. And being, yeah, just getting really good with boundaries is always the key for Libra placements. So one thing about Black Lilith and Sag also is that it can be thought of as sometimes there's a fear of meaninglessness. Um, and as a Sag moon, yeah, so just like a fear of being deceived or just like not finding the overall truth. So there can be like a lot of issues around finding that spiritual truth, that real meaning in life. And that, yeah, it can bring like just like this endless questioning, whether something they're whether it's in the media or something, just in their environment, is based on truth, or people are being truthful, if one's being truthful to themselves, like what, like the big questions in life, the where do we come from, what are we doing, where are we going, those types of very existential questions. And the integration a lot of times comes when one just stops the endless questioning and just starts believing based on their heart and their third eye, and um just really determining, like what is important, what is meaningful to you, right? Like, and being able to kind of narrow down um that need for truth to what really matters, and create your own personal truth that's very unique to you. That's what I would add to that. And yeah, like the Scorpio rising, interesting, yeah. Because I always say it's like an egg where the shell is the rising, the white is um the sun, and the yolk is the moon. So people see the shell, right? The Scorpio, and it can be a little bit intimidating sometimes, but I think with a lot of the energy in your chart, but then like there's this real warmth of that Sag moon in the middle, and then also warmth with the, the Libra, um, in the white. So yeah, it could be interesting where maybe like when people don't know you that well, maybe they might perceive you potentially as a little bit more kind of intimidating. Um, a lot of times Scorpio risings, not always though, and I think the Libra and Sag will probably push a lot of this away, but sometimes they can be a little bit intimidating for some people to approach. But I guarantee you when people get to know you, they're just like, wow, this person's super like, um, yeah. But like honestly, like the way that those two work together, because Sag is so light and Libra is so light, um, it could actually have an effect where it's kind of a good layer of kind of protection, spiritual protection, in the sense of like pushing away people who aren't meant to be there. And yeah, just very powerful personality with Pluto, ruling your ruling planet being in your first house. That just is someone who is a leader, and who challenges themselves, who embraces change, who allows themselves to kind of surrender and let go of what's no longer needed. And that's so important for this chart with the Libra, right? To have that energetic spiritual space in your life. All right. Well, let me see one thing. I think this is like, I'm proud of myself. I'm usually not so to the point. The moon and Uranus are out of balance. Interesting. So, yeah, like, I think that can just really create someone who is just so, like, in terms of their individuality, they're so different. Like no one can hold them back, like they are just like Uranus out of bounds planets are planets that can't really be like touched. Like they're not their declination is above or below a certain level in the sky when they're born. So yeah, they just are kind of like out of touch by of the influence of other energies. And yeah, they can have this sort of power of what's the word, just this, yeah, they can be archetypes within us that just can't really be fucked with. I don't know how to say it. Like yeah, they're just very powerful. So Uranus obviously about change, liberty, freedom, individuality. Um, it can create someone who, yeah, like I've been saying, is always looking for that individuality, and it's very, and with the moon and Sag, someone, yeah, who is always looking for truth and learning, and there's just not much that can hold them back in the pursuit of that. All right, that's it. Uh, So yeah, let me know if you want to do the follow up. I think I read that you had, let's see. Yeah, so you got I'm gonna write offered follow up and current for 370. So the way that works, people it's no pressure, never any pressure. But yeah, basically just email me, jessinessastrategy@gmail.com. It's just really hard for me with my DMs right now, and I'm not the kind of person that would hire someone to answer them for me. Um, yeah, let me know about that. And it's not a long wait. It's one of those things where it's like you just take your time with the reading. If you feel like, this is all you needed, awesome. And either way. But I would say majority of people, they end up adding these, and it's not a long wait. It's just whenever you're ready, and then we just set something in schedule that works for both of us. There's my little kitten. This is Ina. She's a baby. She's a double Aries, born on the new moon this year with Jupiter conjunct. Yeah, you baby. Double Aries, crazy girl. You're so cute though. So soft. Softest cat I've ever touched. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. Best wishes. I hope this was awesome. It was a good time. And yeah, like you don't have like so many aspects in your chart, which is good, you know. You do have some, but you don't have a lot of like what I would consider the most challenging aspects. Um, you don't have a lot of those. So, um, yeah, cool, cool, cool. That's yeah, my chart's similar in that sense. So, yeah, all right. Thank you. Ciao. Bye bye.